We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the streets of gold. We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the New Jerusalem. And we will sing Kadosh, Kadosh to the Lord of hosts, joining in the angels' choir, and forever we will be.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the next chapter. I am Sandi Craig, your host, and I'm broadcasting right here from Amarillo, Texas, where it's another windy day. When I'm talking winds, sustained winds at 30 and 40 miles an hour is what it's been, things like that. And then you have your gusts. Yeah, they think Chicago's the windy city. No, it's the panhandle of Texas. But I'm praying that wind goes away because I've got a lot of work to do today. Probably you too. Anyway, we are so glad that you're joining us here today for the next chapter. We are going to have a great conversation as we continue our series, God in a Box, and you don't want to miss a word of it. We also have news and we have health and all sorts of things that we're going to talk about in different segments today. So you want to stay tuned because there's going to be some good information for you. Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself. As I said, I'm Sandi Craig. My husband, John, and I, we pastor a church right here in Amarillo, Texas, or a congregation called Life of Worship. And anyway, you can go to www.lifeofworshipamarillo.org and find out a whole bunch more about it. But let me tell you one thing I want you to know. Well, actually, a couple. First off, our services are live on YouTube. Our 5 p.m. Central services on Shabbat. And also you can go to the archives and listen to what John and I have to say and what we're teaching or preaching. And at Life of Worship Amarillo, skip the O on YouTube or type in John and Sandi Craig or John and Sandi Craig Amarillo. You're going to get there if you do any of that. And we also have our tour portion. It is live on Zoom at 2 p.m. Central. So you want to stay tuned for that. But there's some news going on, and I want everybody to know because we want you joining us for Sukkot this year. We will be gathering at Paladura Lake in Spearman, Texas, which is about an hour and a half from Amarillo, Texas. It's beautiful, wonderful. Maybe Joe can say something about it. She was with us last year, but it is going to be Friday, October 2nd through Saturday, October 10th. And we would love for you to come be a part. We will have teachers. We will have great teachings. We will have great classes. We have archery. We have playground equipment. We have for the kids. We have covered areas. We have RV and tents, and we will have a mikvah and maybe marriage renewal and you name it. It's going to be, we have kids programs and all sorts of things. And you want to come be a part. Puppets. I guess Miss Joe will be doing puppets again. That'd be great for the kids. And there is a whole bunch more. I can't even list it all, but it is amazing. We also have a talent show, and you want to join that. That was so much fun last year. Anyway, you can go online, www.lifeofworshipamarillo.org and register. Or you can give us a call or let me know, email me, and I'll get you your stuff. But go save your spot. We would love to have you. Anyway, we also do the War Room on Mondays, as well as Let Us Reason Together on Monday mornings, 8:45. And we will be starting once again next week, Yah willing, with the Walking in Spirit and Truth Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central. So you want to join us for all of those programs, and join us if you're ever in the Amarillo area. But that's enough spiel about what's going on with me. Let me let you know that we have other people joining us. Hallelujah. We have Miss Joe Cameron from Toledo, Ohio. Oh, I heard your voice. Anyway, or a voice. So she is the host of Tuesdays and Thursdays War Room Prayers, as well as this show and many other things she's doing. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. And yes, it was the bomb.
The bomb. What would you tell everybody? Just to come?
I would come. It was very one thing I really enjoyed. I've gone to conferences and stuff like that over the years. And conferences, there's so many people, and it's good to have a lot of people, but it was like not unified, I guess would be one of the words. And there at Sukkot, I mean, everybody got together with everybody. Everybody spoke with everybody. People were helping one another. In fact, I really didn't need help with the tent, but I did, and it was so cool because Tammy and Gary just like flew in and just started putting our tent. Give me the tent, and I says, "Here's the tent," and I'm trying to get unpacked and get things going. And next thing you know, the tent is up and ready to go. So,
well, that would be nice to have that help with our our extra tents. I need that. So
yeah, I mean, they helped out. They were really nice. Everything was beautiful. It was really enjoyable. And the trees, it was nice and cool with the trees. The only thing, and my mom was with me, and there was one night that was really windy, especially where we were located because we were kind of up higher than
you were up at the top.
Yeah.
And by the way, that was your choice.
The wind was so windy that night that my mom was laying in bed and turned to me and she goes, "We're going to heaven now. Let's go." Because my mom's not used to winds like that. You got to understand, Southern California, there's hardly any winds. All they have are the shaking, the little earthquake thing. So with winds, tornadoes, and stuff like that, Mom's just like, "We're going to heaven. Let's go." And we've had some pretty wild nights, Mom and I, in the tent. Because Mom has 2 fake, artificial knees. And she kind of got up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom, and she kind of lost her balance and fell. And she woke up, and that commercial, "Help, I've fallen and I can't get up."
Help, I've fallen. Yeah.
Joanna. Finally, she yells, "Join!" That's my other nickname. And I wake up and I'm like, "What?" And she says, "I've fallen. I can't get up. Help me up." So I try to help her up. I fall. So we just sit there and I kept trying. And finally I just started laughing and she started laughing. And we just spent I don't know how many, it was probably 30 minutes laughing about the whole circumstance. And she goes, "Nobody will hear us."
Well, if I would have known, I would have rushed over to your tent to help, but I didn't.
No, that's okay, because I did get her up, but we did laugh about that. She goes, "Boy," she says, "thank God for real knees." Man-made knees don't work.
Hey, what did you think of the talent show? Did you have fun with that?
Oh, I had a great time. I got to use John.
You did. You and John. That was fun. It was I think that was one of everybody's favorite nights because everybody laughed so hard. So
and the one thing that blessed me was Forrest.
Oh, Forrest playing his guitar. That's right.
This young man was so shy through the whole Sukkot that by the end of Sukkot, we played Quelf with him and he opened up. And at the talent show, he opened up and he played his guitar and he shared a song that he wrote.
That's
and
good.
It was so touching and so moving that you could see this man's heart for Yahovah. It was just beautiful. It really was. Guys, you don't want to miss it. I mean, you really don't. Sukkot is just really special. And it was my first official gathering. I mean, I do Sukkot at home, but to be with people and to gather and like-minded people was wonderful. And again, you don't want to miss it. Mark, you don't want to miss it. You really don't.
The theme this year is Clear Vision 2020, Yeshua the Waymaker. That is the theme. So
yeah, Mark does not want to miss it. And
hey, I was going to ask, well, by the way, thank you for those good words. So I guess it is time to introduce Mr. Mark David Smith. Right there from North Carolina, the owner, the visionary, he does the Constitution and many, many other shows, and as well as all the video and the interesting segues, all of that. That's Mark. Those are Mark's fingerprints. Yes.
Yo.
Hey, Mark.
Yo. What's up?
I don't know. What is up?
Me, I'm up. I'm up. Okay, I'm up. That's better. I guess I didn't realize I had my "We the People" background on, but that's all right. That's cool.
That's a good background.
Yeah, but we are the people.
Yeah, that's right. We are the people. You want to hear?
How many of us can say that by memory?
We are the people.
We the people of the United States.
In order to
go ahead.
Form a more perfect union, establish justice. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, that's okay. Hey, are we alone today, or is it just the three of us?
It is. Sherry has got other things happening in her life more important than us, apparently.
Well, I love Sherry, and I know what it's like to have your day full, and sometimes something's got to give, so that's okay. But we will truly miss Miss Sherry Flannigan. Yes, from Ashland, Mississippi. But hopefully we get to see her next week. By the way, folks, you're going to want to stay tuned and look forward to next week. Why? Because we're going to finish this topic off next week with some personal stuff, testimonies, and things like that. So you don't want to miss it. But I was going to let you know that I don't know if you guys are part of this, but news attack wise, the average person will consume nearly 70,000 snacks in their lifetime. Yeah, the average person will consume nearly 70,000, and you will enjoy 21 nibbles between meals every week, a total of 1,095 per year. Are y'all snack people?
Does cookie dough and yogurt for dinner count?
Well, it's talking about in between meals.
Is it between meals?
Oh,
That once you've made that a meal, Joe, it doesn't count anymore.
okay.
So.
And it was
Well,
a meal. Yay!
I like to grab, like, if there's little tomatoes, cherry tomatoes somewhere. I love to just, I'm walking around in the middle of it. I pop those things. So I do snack.
That's what I do. I keep, when we buy them at the store, in the little container, I actually we wash them, take the top off the container and set them in the refrigerator. And then every time I open the refrigerator for a little snack, they're right there and I grab a couple and eat. How about that, Sandy? Well,
you know what?
Candy.
I like going into the garden and doing it.
That's nice. True too. Which reminds me, yesterday, I always let her harvest with me because I remember harvesting with my grandmother and how special it was, strawberries especially. And so I always, I take her with me and she always wants to hold it, but she also eats the produce right off the vine. So whatever I give her, she wants to pop it in her mouth. So I said, do you want a tomato? She said, yes. And she wanted to carry one of the zucchinis we harvested. So she did that and she popped that tomato yesterday. But I will say this, Mark, putting tomatoes in the fridge actually destroys the vitamin properties within them. Just FYI. That's just an FYI for you.
Okay.
Yeah, they taste better outside the fridge too.
But I know most people I know put them in the fridge. So I'm just a weirdo.
Yeah, and gardening with your grandchild is really fun. Even with your children, it's a treat. My mother didn't have a garden. She just took us. We lived in Washington State. She would take us to where the blackberry bush was to make blackberry jam. And of course, by the time we finished, our fingers, our faces, our clothes were all pretty much blue. And there was maybe a little bit to make a little bit of jam.
Well, I remember when I lived in Nebraska, I lived in Nebraska till I was 5. And we lived in this orchard thing. So there were big trees. I thought it was massive and it's still a nice size. But when I saw it growing up, it wasn't near as massive as I thought it was when I was 3 and 4. But there was blackberry bushes. And I remember just I'd just walk out there without my mom and just eat them.
You know, kids love like fruit trees and stuff, because one of the places we lived in different places, being a military kid, my dad owned and mom owned a house with 13 fruit trees, figs, plums. I mean,
wow.
And us kids would go in the summer and we'd be climbing in the trees and, playing. Oh, and today you can't do that, right? Climbing in the trees, playing flashlight tag at night in the summer. My mom sat there and would look at my dad and he would say, why aren't the kids eating dinner with us? She says, they had a feast outside.
Yes. And I love that. I remember climbing in the trees there in Nebraska, but I'd always get ticks. So I remember my mom coming in and she'd sometimes burn them out or do whatever. But I know that sounds bad, but you're climbing in the trees. I got ticks all the time.
Yeah, so in California, same thing.
Yeah, well, I think we're boring, Mark, so we need to.
I'm cleaning my keyboard.
You're cleaning your key. Yeah, you're bored. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to ask this question. What dads actually want for Father's Day? It's coming up. What is it?
Oh, you mean in general, or what do I want?
Well, you can say what you want. You can hear,
I can. I
but
can say.
sure.
I've said it for years, but nobody ever gets it for me. So.
What is that?
I want a bottle of Bob Dylan's Heaven's Gate whiskey.
Heaven's Gate whiskey.
That's what
all right.
I want a bottle of Bob Dylan's Heaven's Gate whiskey. And I've said it for 3 years now, ever since it came out on the market, and nobody's ever gotten it.
They've ignored your request. I'm so sorry. Well, it is said that half of the people surveyed, 47%, that is, so almost half, said they want a phone call from their kid.
Oh, we get it every day, so it's like
we get FaceTime
every day. So.
One of them, and the other two are always calling Dave and talking to him more than they do me.
Your list is old, Sandy.
Yeah, that's
no.
Well, it was just published. So.
Okay.
Anyway, but I know that probably my husband would want sleep.
Would want what? What?
Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
No, hopefully he wants to spend time with his wife on Father's Day. So.
Yeah. Mine would want to go and drive the Dragon. It's a motorcycle down south, the freeway that a lot of motorcyclists like to ride.
Wow.
Yeah, he'd like to do that and have me on the back, but I'm like, I cannot fit that motorcycle. It's only a one-person motorcycle. So
I know what John would want for Father's Day. To see his son here. That's what he would want.
Yeah, for sure.
We all would love to see that.
I'll go for that. I'll go for that.
Well, he's still believing. He's like, I'm about to come home. I know it. So
yeah,
we're still excited about that and can't wait. So
that's right.
Anyway.
Cool.
Hey, well, you know what? I think it's time. We haven't had some health news in a while. Would y'all like to hear some health news?
There we go. Let's see if Mark. Oh, I got it. When you're ready.
Okay, we are ready. Stay tuned. Well, we're going to talk about a plant that each and every one of us needs at our house, in our homes. So stay tuned. It's about the aloe vera plant. Yeah, you need an aloe vera plant. It grows. You can grow it easily, and there are so many benefits to aloe vera. And it's better to get it right out of the plant than go down to the store that they've mixed in chemicals and all sorts of other things in there. Just get your plant, break off a branch, and use it for so many things. Well, what? Well, let me tell you a little bit about the aloe vera plant. The aloe vera plant is known as the lily of the desert. It's actually a succulent, and the products that come from the aloe vera, or the liquid, the gel that comes from the aloe vera, or even drinking the aloe vera juice, it can heal scrapes, and it can cool your sunburn. It can relieve pain from minor cuts, and it can treat bug bites. It's even said to treat eczema, and I haven't even tried that on my granddaughter, so I need to do that. And it soothes your digestive tract, and it's a key ingredient to a lot of beauty products and rituals, and it can even help you support your thyroid and intestinal health. We're going to go into a little bit of detail about that, but you know what? Before starting your new skin regimen, try aloe vera. It helps treat acne and all sorts of other things. So what's the difference between the juice and the gel? Well, they both come from different parts of the plant, and they have their own properties. Aloe vera juice is produced from the whole leaf, or either the whole leaf or just the inner portion. And the composition of juice should always be spread on the label. It's listed on the label whenever you're buying a product. But anyway, it has this health tonic, has immune boosting and digestive stimulating effects. It can also treat asthma, epilepsy, osteoarthritis. The skin of the aloe leaf puts this bitter liquid out that's actually, here we go, it's a laxative. So if you're having issues there, you know what? Try some aloe vera, and it, rather than over the counter stuff, that might help you. Anyway, there's so much potential healing properties in this, that to not have it at your house, that's like a whole medicine cabinet in and of itself. It's better to just get it straight from the plant than go to the store. Anyway, also, though, I want you to know to be careful, because when you look at aloe leaves or even full-grown plants at your local organic grocery or plant nursery, you need to be careful, because it's only the Aloe barbadensis. Okay, I can't even say this. Barbadensis. Yeah, that's that variety that is non-toxic and safe for internal use. So just know that, although the rest can handle external. But this lily of the desert, also called mountain rose, is a go-to and should be part of your routine, even every day. So it's good for your skin, clear skin. It helps with acne. It has toner. You can use it as powerful toner or hydrosol. It gives you antioxidants, increases hydration. It reduces redness and inflammation. And look for aloe vera in your skincare. If you don't have a plant, go look for aloe vera in your skincare products. And when you keep aloe vera juice or gel on hand, it can help be a makeup primer. It can be a makeup remover, a sunburn soother, a facial mask, a moisturizer, and even a treatment for irritated scalp. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the aloe vera plant as well. And I said it was good for digestion. Well, let's be a little bit more specific. Aloe vera balances the high blood sugar and regulates leaky gut. And everybody pretty much has leaky gut syndrome here, at least in the United States. And as I mentioned before, it eases constipation. For this reason, it should be considered serious medical aid in your home. Yeah, it's very, very important. Aloe is also an effective diuretic. So, hey, that's something right there. And aloe vera is made of a constitution that has been shown to have positive effects on your blood sugar and keeps your hormones in check. So there's something else. It helps regulate the insulin and inflammation. And we could go on and on about the benefits of aloe vera, but the plant is also easy to grow. You have it inside your house. I take mine. I have a huge one that I've got to repot, but bring it inside in the winter when it's out. I keep it in outside only until if it gets below 50, I bring it inside. So just know that. And by the way, we are not doctors or anything like that, so check the information out for yourself. But I will tell you, aloe vera is a plant each and every household needs, especially, as we've all experienced, running to the store and to get things may not always be what we thought what it has been in our past experience. We need something right before us that we can take care of ourselves and not rely on whatever's outside. So you guys come in and join. If you have anything to say, great. If not, that's okay too. But aloe vera, a plant you need at home.
I love aloe vera. I have aloe vera juice in my refrigerator, and I don't have the gel now because we're out of the gel, but I use it for hand sanitizer, the gel. And I also, when you're mixing thieves oil, I use that with witch hazel and water and mix it together, the gel, to make the hand sanitizer. That way your hands don't get dried up and it doesn't, the oil doesn't burn your skin. And then the aloe vera liquid juice I use for a spray bottle. So when you're getting ready to use, how today we got those hand sanitizing stations in the stores. I've been doing this for years. I spray my handle with the thieves oil and aloe vera juice. And also the constipation thing. Yes, it works. 1 shot glass of aloe vera juice is really all you need. And a friend of my family's, they used to put it in a salad. They would peel the skin and chop it up and throw it into a salad for you to eat. And it was pretty good. It wasn't half bad. I was amazed by it. But yes, aloe vera is wonderful. I had an aloe vera plant till we moved here, and because somebody forgot to bring it in and it got very cold. So she died.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So I need to go get a new one. But
Well,
they're easy to take care of. One thing I'm going to say about harvesting them, though, that you didn't mention, was harvest the outer leaves. Make sure they don't have mold on them or any discrepancies on them, because if they have a problem with them, they're not going to be that potent. They're not going to work very well. And so you want to harvest them, and you want to make sure they're really good, thick leaves, and you want to cut them from the bottom of the stem.
well, that's good. That's good information. And I didn't say that. And I wish we had it. By the way, when we say leaves, it's, if you've never seen an aloe vera plant, it's not traditional leaf. I wish I would have had a visual, but I didn't even think about that. So anyway, aloe vera, would you say every household should have one in this day and hour? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know that there's anything else to say about it, except it's good information. It's good information to know this kind of stuff. So, all right. Well, do you guys want to hear some news?
Sure.
Because I have some, and y'all can join in. So here we go. Stay tuned. All right. Yeah, you get to have me again bringing a segment, but y'all can handle it this week because you missed me for a few weeks, right? Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about what is going on around the world with the racism thing. And I'm going to hit a couple articles here, and, you know, and the opinions are, well, I'm going to read the articles, but the opinions said here are not necessarily the opinions of Lamb Network. It is each individual's opinion. So please don't be offended by anything you might hear. You know what? Do the research. If something offends you, then it probably needed to do a little research on it. Anyway, fake police arrested after staging abuse incident in an attempt to frame real cops. Yeah, that's my news headline today, and it's taken from Natural News, but I've also seen it on Breitbart and some other things. It's the same news article. Well, not exactly the same, but the same news headline anyway. So what happened? In another incident in Black Lives Matter protesters posing as police officers has surfaced, this time in Paris, where 3 men were reportedly arrested for impersonating cops in an attempt to portray them as racist. Guys, this isn't the first incident like this either. This is going on. Don't believe what you see and don't believe what you hear. Anyway, early reports suggested that the 3 men dressed up in fake police uniforms and conspired with a director and a cameraman to film a contrived incident in which the 3 pretended to arrest a Black African man in front of a supermarket. The scene was set up to show a white thief stealing products and being let go, but the Black man was targeted simply due to his skin. Again, this is this was a setup. It wasn't a real scenario. So anyway, the uniforms they had on were actually real uniforms. They weren't fake, and they were connected to a Paris police officer who is believed to have lent the garments to them as part of the staged smear effort. Yeah, is it done on purpose? Absolutely. I think this whole thing has been contrived again, but okay. Not saying it's not real. I'm saying it's anyway. It's really important that you are extra vigilant about what you hear, about the news that you take in, and do not believe everything you hear right off the bat. Do some research on all the news, actually. So Walder, this guy, went on to falsely accuse American police of engaging in this type of discrimination and made a point to say how much better the French police are and that this doesn't really happen in France. This is an American thing. Anyway, really? Anyway. So the director of this fake incident told the left-wing newspaper it was meant as an actual tribute. That was his excuse when they got caught. Well, this was actually a tribute to George Floyd. Really? Their goal is to send a message of peace, is what they went on to say. Wow. How does that send a message of peace? Anyway, it's ridiculous, but these kind of contrived incidences are going on all over. In fact, the original was planned before too. Remember, there was a sign on the 7th, way before it ever happened, that Obama had put out, as well as other things way before this incident ever happened. It was a planned incident. Okay, so I want to go on to ask some questions related to another article. And this is big tech censorship of conservatives was orchestrated in advance of the attempted Marxist uprising in order to create the false appearance that everyone is with the rioters, because we know that this incident has spurred the world to rise up. It's been the excuse to blow up and promote even more racism. But racism comes from both sides, folks. I want you to know that. And it's okay from one side, but it's not okay from the other sides. So just think about this for a minute. Okay. In past years, every social media platform has been systematically canceling all of the loudest voices that contradict the leftist narrative. Yeah, there is a leftist narrative, guys. And anything that would speak the truth, they get rid of it. And we know that. Everything's being censored and removed. You're removed if you have a conservative viewpoint, because they only want the left's voice heard, the lies heard, because you hear a lie often enough. If you're not vigilant, you believe the lie. Anyway, this article goes on to say, and as we can all now see that George Floyd riots, this was purposely done well in advance to make it seem as though the entire world is on board with Black Lives Matter. As the world has been waiting in social isolation for the Wuhan virus, the coronavirus pandemic to pass, the powers that be appeared to have been waiting for the precise moment to launch this global Black Power campaign. And now it's in motion. Most of the voices that previously would have warned all the people to not fall prey to this psyop no longer have a formidable presence online, so they're not heard. So the only voice the world hears, and most people don't research out what they're doing, is the left liberal side. That's all lies. You can have a hint of truth and then build a huge lie around it. Anyway, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, which many would consider to be the big three when it comes to social media powerhouses, have all become bully pulpits for the anti-white programming. What I know that could be offensive to somebody, but there it is there. I heard somebody say once that the most dangerous thing to be right now is a white male. Anyway, again, my opinion or the opinions of some. So everywhere you look, in other words, there's an endless message about ending systematic racism, abolishing the police, and basically overthrowing President Trump and replacing our constitutional republic with social justice communism. And that is what's being pushed here, folks. So and everybody's fallen right into the hands. And it was teed up when Silicon Valley really started to snipe rational conservative voices from practicing or participating in the conversation. So let's see. The Health Ranger report also asked this question: why doesn't anyone care when white people are brutalized by the police? And guess what? It happens. I know of many incidences where that happens as well. So there's an example here. And this is from one of the conservative voices, Candace Owens, who took to social media to decry all of the newfound worship of George Floyd, who actually is a felon, a criminal felon, and everybody's worshiping him. And he actually is he threatened to murder a pregnant woman and some other things. So not saying let's think a little bit, folks. Let's not worship man. First off, let's worship God, because this is man worship. Anyway, there's an incident of a guy named Tony Timpa. Yeah, Tony Timpa. And he was a white guy who was killed by police in almost the exact same way as George Floyd. Almost the exact same way. But unlike with Floyd's case, the officers who killed Timpa weren't charged with anything. They weren't held accountable for anything, because this particular instance of police brutality took place against a white man. The media ignored it, and there weren't any protests, and the world kept going. Why? Because there is racism from both sides. There's racism, guys, and we need to wake up. Anyway, because and they're promoting it, trying to stir it up. This is all to stir it up so they can create a system where they have martial law and they can clamp down, because everything they've tried hasn't been working. So they keep trying more stuff. But anyway, This selective outrage in reporting proves there is no actual conspiracy when it comes to police brutality, specifically against blacks. If anything, rogue police officers have harmed and killed more, and this is the article, guys, more white victims than black victims, and without consequence, because nobody seems to care or even know when a white person is brutalized by law enforcement. Big tech is part of the problem, as it is not only silenced many of the alternative voices that would dare to tell the other side of the story, but it has also steered social media users into believing and following a different narrative that centers around race. So, guys, let's wake up. Don't believe the lie. Don't take the blue pill. It's time to take the red pill. Okay. Anyway, you guys can jump in, but one more time, I want to preface this article that I just read. The second one was by Ethan Huff, and I believe I got it off of Breitbart. But there is truth in these articles, and it's almost, this is what's sad. It's almost, you have to almost apologize for saying white, a white person. How messed up is that?
You know, we're not, this world has lost a lot of the history and everything. One thing that was interesting to me that I learned is, you remember that the House of Representatives, the Dems, all were wearing a certain motif scarf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The knee. Well, come to find out that they were wearing, an African woman came forth and she sat there and says, you know, you better be careful what you wear. You better know what you're wearing. They were wearing the colors of a certain tribe, and coming to know the history of that tribe would sell their own people to slavery. Isn't that interesting? So they're wearing, saying Black Lives Matter, and they're wearing this scarf that is the colors of a tribe that sold their own people to slavery. Guys, wake up. The other thing that's interesting to me, I took photography class in high school. And one thing my teacher told me, he says, it's really, you can take a camera and you can angle it a certain way to make someone see it in a certain perspective, a certain way. You can make people look like they're closer together than they are. You can make that with the camera look like there's more people than there are by the way you angle your camera. It is an optical illusion. So we need to be careful what we see with our little eyes. Remember the little song, Be Careful Little Eyes, What You See? And the other thing that I've seen is there was a Black police officer that died. If you truly are a Black Lives Matter, it doesn't matter if you were a police officer or a nurse or a doctor. You're a Black man. This Black man died. We should be caring about that. If we truly these people, and I know there are true Black Lives Matter people out there, okay? Mind you, they care about the Blacks, and that's wonderful. But number one, Yeshua came for the whole world. He didn't come for one race. He came for all of us. He died for all of us. And if this was true, then why, and you were right, you know, you were protesting for Floyd and all the people that had been murdered by police officers, then why were you stealing and pillaging and rioting? And you were stealing from your own brothers and sisters as well.
And killing. They've killed too.
There was an old man in New York. I think he was in the Bronx area. You know, I'm not sure if it was the Bronx or where it was, but it was a low income area. He had a little shop, Black man, elderly man. He was I think he's close to 70 years old. And he had a shop that they rioted and destroyed and stole everything. And he came out there and he says, what are you doing? You're mad at the white man, but you're attacking me and all your other brothers and sisters. I don't understand why. What are you doing? You guys are not understanding these things. They don't understand their history. They're tearing down all these monuments, which, by the way, if you know your history, reminds me of the time of Stalin and the time that the Communist Party came in. Remember, they got rid of all the czars and everything and all the statues and everything of the memory of their history. And now I think it's Netflix or HBO has decided that, we can't have Gone with the Wind anymore because that's racist. And
HBO, and there was another network. Two different places got rid of it.
And this woman, this black woman that portrays a mammy, I think it's called, the mammy.
Yeah.
She got an Oscar for that award, the first black woman to get an Oscar. And this is, yes, it is not true history the way the movie's portrayed, but it is a movie that was done in those days. We need to remember these things. That's the problem. These children that are out there, and I'm calling them children because most of them that are 20 years and younger, they're out there that are going, especially out in LA and San Diego area, they're going crazy stealing. They think that it's a free for all because, hey, well, the cops are in trouble, getting in trouble, and they're focusing on the police officers so we can do whatever we want. And they're trying to get rid of the police officers. Well, there's a lot of police officers out there that are kind and nurturing and loving. And there's so many trigger words out there that they're using. And those trigger words are how people throughout history, and if you look it up, that it is used for brainwashing.
Well, it's just sad. And, I look at that and I see these people out there that are rioting, burning, stealing, big crimes, murdering even, and they're getting them out. I mean, there's things out there. Let's release everybody that's rioting because there's justified. And we have in our prison system people who should not be there. Come on, folks.
Exactly.
Come on, folks. These guys that are doing this, they're doing it because they want to do it. They are criminals. Stop holding everybody accountable for one person's actions. Stop holding everybody accountable for a few people's actions. Guys, that's not the way it works. Here's an example. I grew up, we were in Dimmitt, Texas. Well, I shouldn't say that. Well,
as white people, and I'm not just pure white. FYI, I have Cherokee Indian in me. A lot of people have been bowing to a lot of black people. They're not your God. There's only one that you are to bow down to. And when I heard at the 5-hour funeral, I watched a little snippets of it, of George Floyd. I cried because a reverend, he's supposed to be a reverend, stated that George Floyd is the cornerstone that's been rejected.
The guy who tried to murder a pregnant woman that has a criminal record that, and by the way, the coffin was smaller than George Floyd and they were flipping it around and they said there's no way there was a body in there. There's a lot to that too, but to have a man that states that he knows the scriptures and to state that this man, which is a man, he's not Yahovah, he's not Yahovah's son, to state that is wrong. And that is not my savior that's in that coffin. It is. That's true. Anyway, you're right. And what I was going to say is that they're so brainwashed that some people that I know that were never like this when I knew them as a young person said they could care less. They don't want to be around any white person. And they don't care if they destroy every business. They would hope and pray that every business was destroyed, every white person owned thing, or even black. It doesn't matter. They want all white people dead and all white people. And I'm like, guys, they want the destruction of businesses and everything else. They said, we don't care.
If you are a believer in the scriptures and you are a believer in Jesus or Yeshua, then you should not be out there stealing, because he said to follow his commandments, and him and Yahovah are one. Him and God are one. Jesus and God are one. And the 10 Commandments says, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder. You are murdering, you are stealing, and you're claiming to be a believer. You are not by your fruits. That is not being a believer. That is not being a believer. And then proclaiming a man that had been, yes, by the video of what I've seen, he had been unjustly murdered. Okay. By the video that I've seen, and anyone that had that happen to them had been unjustly murdered, but they're not the savior. They're not God. They're not Yeshua or Jesus. They're just a person.
But what about the other people that are in the same way unjustly murdered? Mark, do you want to jump in there?
People are stupid.
Exactly.
So it really is. If people are stupid, the biggest reason that people are stupid is because they live for the moment. They live for right now. And the statement, I don't remember exactly what it is, but basically is that if you don't remember your history, then you're subject to repeating history. And this is, we all know, every one of us know, and even the stupid people that are out there know, this is not the first time this has happened. It's happened multiple times where a white officer has killed a black person or maimed one or done this kind of stuff. It's not the first time. It's just a new time. It's just another time where they've got the access to do the things they want to do. And the worse that society gets, along with, you know, with COVID-19 and all the other things that build up and build up and build up, all you got to do is bring this out again and do something similar again. And people act as though this is the first time this has happened. They act as though, I don't know. This is the first time. There's nobody doing it to the white people. We didn't see that, you know. And it's. I mean, once again, we can go on and on and on and on. People are stupid. It's all there is to it. And I'm saying you're stupid because you don't stand up and voice the fact and publicly put out the fact that this has happened before. Every one of these things. COVID-19 happened before. The coronavirus, this one is one of the lesser ones that has happened before. I understand what the government is doing and the world is doing, trying to head it off so that it isn't as bad as what's happened before, but it's happened before. Why are you so freaked out about it? And the people that are older than 16 years old and you don't know about it, you're stupid. Come on. It's happened before. If you don't know your history, you're stupid. Quote me. I don't care what the deal is. It all boils down to people are stupid. And, you know, it's realistically, shameless plug, really, if you're not watching our Constitution show, you really are missing a lot. We don't just talk about the Constitution. We talk about the righteousness of Torah, the righteousness of the Constitution, and we the people, and the things that are going on today. And we've discussed this in depth and how it all works. And you see my my name tag, the needs of the many. A lot of people are very familiar with the expression, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And it's interesting, even though most people are familiar with this because of the Star Trek movie where Spock quoted this, but the truth is, it is a phrase that is known around the world and used around the world on a regular basis. They just don't verbalize the phrase. But the actual idea behind the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few actually used to be a huge way the world was run. Many very civilized countries, including the United States, based every decision they made on how this particular thing works, the needs of the many. It has now switched over to the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many or the few. And it is wrong. It's not a Torah principle. It's not right. It's not the right way to do it. Next week on Contemplating the Constitution, which is on Wednesday mornings at this same time, we will be discussing this, briefly, not in detail. But I'm just telling you, last word, people are stupid. And the reason people are stupid is because they don't exercise knowing their history. They don't exercise that. They decide to be in the moment. We live in the moment. We don't care about what's happened before, and we don't care about what's going to happen in the future. We only are going to live in the moment. And I'm going to tell you what, you're stupid. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, you need to think before you do. And that's a problem as well. A lot of people aren't thinking before they're doing things. And
Yep.
I agree with Mark. That's perfect. That's a good trigger word, Mark.
We will let that. Thank you, guys. And I agree. And we could talk about this for the rest of the program, but we have something else. Mark's going to bring our main topic today, and I don't want to miss a word of it. So, guys, do your research. And Mark, you want to bring in our intro? Let's do it.
That intense music brings you right into it, you know. I might just say, I'm probably going to say final word several times while I'm speaking this, and I want to try to get through this as quick as possible. But first of all, I want to thank Joe for bringing this subject up to start with. As a matter of fact, she had a little thing that she brought up, and we never intended to make it a video series. But in actuality, I think this is almost even more of a baseline video series for a lot of the other ones that we do. I mean, you could even talk about the battle of the mind. You can talk about believers, demons, and angels, other very important video series that we've done on this show. Really, this can be a baseline. And let me start off by saying having God in a box is a slave mentality. And believe it or not, the riots that are going on, COVID-19, a lot of the different things that are happening in the United States and around the world still prove that people have a slave mentality. It's interesting. The children of Israel prayed to God that God would come and free them. Yet still, everything that they did, God did come and free them. Yet still, they kept God in this mental box that they had, because they still just didn't to know that there's a God, and yet still not let him have the freedom to do what he needs to do in his own way. Because you think that it's like, I think Sherry mentioned when she talked about this, about you pray and God answers your prayer, but in a different way. Well, you think God's supposed to do it a certain way. You put God in a box. It's still, that in itself is a slave mentality. And yet they still complained as they went. Even though God freed them, showed them unique individual miracles that happened almost on a daily basis, and they still complained, is them putting God in a box. And if you'll allow me, as I'm bringing up these points, think of that. They put God in a box. Each step in the wilderness, God delivered them. He let them out. He led them out. And yet still they wouldn't let him out of the box that they created him in. And we still do it today. God consistently works in our lives every single day. And of course, I'm speaking to you, the believer, and you are to understand and let God have the freedom to do things the way he needs to do them based on the life you're living, and yet you think it needs to be done a specific way. One of the things is I got to put it out there, is I really don't have this mentality. I really don't. I find, and I think about it all the time, there are things I put in a box. There are things that I have preconceived ideas about, but I think about it all the time of whether or not I have God in any kind of box at all. And I consistently can't find that. So I'm saying that realistically, this is all in our minds. It really is. God in our, and that's why I say the series we did called The Battle is in the Mind, it really is. We're putting God in a box by having him specifically, this is the way it's to be done. We, in our minds, put God in a box. The battle belongs to the Lord. It doesn't belong in our minds. We wrestle not against our minds and other physical entities. The battle is in our minds, and we need to give the battle to the Lord. Another thing that is that we don't recognize, and yet I think we should, is that individually we struggle with life. Moshe struck the rock when God just said the water's going to come out. Moshe put God in a box. It didn't happen the way Moshe wanted. And there's just countless numbers of times as you're going through the Torah portions, if you'll stop and think of each individual thing that happens, you can see where individually they kept putting God in a box. When Moshe struck the rock, it was in his mind what he thought was supposed to happen. It's the same thing each one of us do every day. We need to free our minds and let God fight that battle. But corporately, we work with God. And even though this is this God in a box thing, we've been discussing how each individual person relates to this and works with this. I'm telling you to take it to the next step and realize that there is power in numbers. And if we allow ourselves to work with other people in these areas, even though we know when they left, the children of Israel left Egypt, they complained. There were still a lot that didn't. There was still a lot. I mean, Joshua and Caleb wouldn't complain. They wouldn't say a bad report. They went along with whatever God had in mind. And that is what we're supposed to recognize and understand, that corporately, it didn't say Joshua did this. It said Joshua and Caleb, and they're not the only ones. There were a vast amount of other people that didn't go along with the other people, especially individuals, and they worked with God. And so to me, corporately, when we work with God, there is power in numbers. For instance, this show, the next chapter, Sandi could come on here and do, I won't do a show by myself. I just won't. I don't. I did the Compass of Cram, but I constantly invited people to come on and be on the show with me, because I know that there's power in what we do and say based on numbers. And it's like when Joe and I were in early today, and we were waiting on Sandy, and Sandy was running a little bit late. And Joe will tell you, I said, I'm not doing the show by myself. I'm not doing the show with Joe and I. If something has happened and she can't show up, we'll cancel the show, because I'm not going to do it like that. Corporately, this show, along with many other shows that are done, that's why I developed the morning discussion shows. You can't discuss with yourself, because individually you lose that battle, and corporately you don't. So there are several scriptures, but I wanted to remind us of three very individual ones that work with this. And Hebrews 10:24 says, "Forsake not the assembling together of ourselves." And Matthew 18:20 is, "When two or more are gathered in his name, there he is in the midst of them." And the biggest issue of all to me is Acts 2. Acts 2. Okay, you want to rid God out of a box in every instance of your life, go and read first book of Acts and the second book of Acts, and you'll find that it all works corporately. It all works together with other people. If you can't get God out of a box, go talk to somebody. Ultimately, we put God in a box when we focus on the negative, or we have fear. Those two things will automatically put God and everything else in a box. We keep God out of a box when, by the way, I don't believe God is a box. He's not in a box. He's not a box. He is not the box. I don't believe that. But we keep God out of a box in our lives, individually and corporately, when we focus and stand on his promises. We have faith, and we learn to practice his word, his lifestyle, his halakha. We have to learn the ways of God. When we learn, walk, and stand in the ways of God, our brain will not have to mentally battle the things that normally put God in a box. Final word. Like I said, God is not a box or in a box. He can't be put in a box. We are the ones who are in the box. When we limit God and we limit ourselves to what we can do in the kingdom of God, we put ourselves in a box. We don't put God in a box. We can discuss all those things all we want to, but we're the ones who get in a box and limit ourselves. In John 14:12, it says, and Sandy brought this out last week, and I thought this was most perfect, is believe on Yeshua and his works, and greater works shall we do, because he went to the Father. That was interesting to me, that they added when Yeshua said, because I go to the Father. And this is another thing that how we mentally put God in a box is that if Yeshua was still here on earth and never went to the Father, we would constantly be looking to him to do all the miracles and heal all the people and do all of this kind of stuff. That was not what he was here for. He was here. Yeshua never said, go and get people saved. Never said it. Never even implied it. He said, go and make Talmudim. Go and teach the people and teach them. That's why he had Talmudim. That's why he sent them out, is because we are the ones that are to do the works and greater works than he did. And when we do that, there's no box. We don't limit ourselves. There are no limitations in the kingdom of God. None whatsoever. Don't have fear and don't focus on the negative, and you will constantly walk in the halakha, the way that we should walk with God. So there you go. That's my final word.
Joe.
I love it. I love it. Yes, we need to fellowship with one another. We need to be together. We need to have each other's backs. In fact, it says in the word, it says to bear one another's burdens. Well, you can't bear one another's burdens if it's just you, right? It's that simple. And, I looking at the Torah portions and everything, and how some people put God in the box. We look at Avraham. Avraham put Yahovah in a box in his mind and thought, you know what? He said, I'm going to have a son, but I'm going to fix it and do it my way. And he messed it up. And, he was blessed with Ishmael, but it was not what Yahovah had planned. He wanted Sarah and Avraham to have a child, which Isaac did come forth. And that whole mess up, caused a lot of issues later on down the line. Then you have where you can see where God is not in a box as well, where you have Saul there with all the children of Israel sitting there all in fear because of this great big man standing there cursing Yahovah, and a shepherd boy shows up and kills him and cuts his head off. That shows us how God is not in a box. He's not in the mentality of what we are. And it's a blessing to know that. And yes, we need to, as you said earlier in the show, not be stupid. We need to focus on him, and we need to fellowship. And that's one thing I think that's very important that a lot of people miss out on, is the fellowship aspect, and talking about his word and helping one another and speaking forth and being an army for him, because he is the commander in chief for his army. And he created everything. So he cannot be in a box if he created everything. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's that simple. Because Mark, you said everything.
You did.
Final word.
Well, I was thinking about a few things. I hear Nico. There we go. I was thinking about a few things that you said, and carrying them, because you were talking about how it's in our mind and how we're the ones in a box. But don't you think that in a way, when we attribute to God and we say he can or can't, or this won't work, or we're doing things, don't we create a God in our image?
Very good. That's a individual separated box.
Yeah.
With a different God in there. Yes.
Right. We're creating a God in the image we think he should work and how he should work. And then on top of that, it's all about trust. We say we have faith, and that goes back to shows that we've talked about before. We say we have faith, but in reality, when the rubber hits the road, our talk is cheap, because we have this tendency to do all of that, create the God in our own image, attribute to him what he can and can't do because it's our own God, because we don't trust Yehovah himself. We don't trust that he is God and that he is sovereign. And though things may not work as we think they should work, he still has our best interest at heart. And so we manipulate, and we do, creating our God in our image, which is not him. And to me, that just went right along with what you said. And I love it. So.
Slave mentality. It's something that we forget. The children of Israel still had and died because of it. They wandered, and they spent the last 40 years of their life wandering in the wilderness and died because they held on to their slave mentality. We are dying every day of our lives because we hold on to a slave mentality.
Isn't that what we see in society right now?
Yeah, definitely.
Slave mentality.
Definitely.
So, and what's it doing? It's destroying the very fabric in which we live.
That's right. That's right. And get the key word there is mentality. It's all in our minds.
Yeah.
We're not slaves, but in our minds, we hold ourselves in that box, and it's a slave mentality.
You know,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because we have that helmet of salvation. He's our salvation.
That's very good. That's
Helmet.
deliverance.
And it's delivering us from slavery.
That's
And
very
like
good.
you said, it's in the mind. If it's in the mind and we have that helmet of salvation, then we should not be focusing on him being in a box.
That's right. Very good. Very good. There you go. So next
Well,
week.
Next week, guys, we will have our last segment of this series, and it's going to get personal. And we're going to all bring a point in a time when we have put God in a box. So you don't want to miss a word of that. You don't want to miss the program because it's going to bring it all together. And anyway, so we are so glad that you've joined us today. Stay tuned for till next week. And until that time, shalom.
Shalom.
Ta-ta.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the streets of gold. We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the New Jerusalem. And we will sing Kadosh, Kadosh,